Wonderful, welcome to another Wrestling Wednesday, cause it's Wednesday somewhere here on the Funkit Pod, and as always, lots of things to talk about. Actually, even one thing more, because, well, we all know it, we just had the Fastlane pay-per-view this past weekend, so let's dive right into what happened, what will happen next, and so on. Before we talk about Fastlane, though, of course, because we always review the last week in wrestling, we also have to look into what happened at the SmackDown leading up to Fastlane, right? So, and this time at SmackDown leading up to Fastlane, what did we have there? Well, we had a SmackDown Women's Championship match between Sasha Banks and Nia Jax. We all knew what would happen, right? That was clear that there needs to be something to happen and some shenanigans and some back and forth and so on. And of course, exactly that happened. Sasha defeated Nia Jax, but of course it wasn't like a clear defeat. There was like lots of back and forth, like interferences and whatnot to set up the Fastlane confrontation between Belair and Sasha Banks and Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler, of course. It wasn't that bad though, to be honest. I'm not the biggest fan of Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax, that's clear by now, but that was good for what it was. We then had Seth Rollins addressing Cesaro, we had Edge talking about main event and so on, like lots of talking segments, of course, to set up the road to WrestleMania. I'm not going into too much detail because, of course, we saw more about what's going to happen at Fastlane. Then we saw tag team action with the Mysterios and the Street Profits and the Mysterios then versus the Alpha Academy tag team gauntlet, so to speak. And, well, the Mysterios defeated the Street Profits, which is, I understand it, but it's also, And then, of course, Alpha Academy defeating the Mysterios because the bad guys have to win sometimes, and Otis being no a bad guy, of course. It's not bad. They're all good tag teams. It's just still like, if you look at the overall picture, it just feels a bit weird, right? I don't really know like what exactly bothers me with this. Maybe because I want to see Chad Gable as a single star, for example. And I think the Street Profits are an awesome tag team and they should shine brighter. I don't know. The Mysterios are an awkward tag team. Yes, they're a family, so awesome, but it must be really cool to be able to do this, right? But still, I don't know, it doesn't click. But the action itself is still decent. Of course, it's still fun to watch. It's not like anything terrible. It's not like it's Raw, right? We then had D. Bright talking about Fastlane and like how he wiggled his way into there, talking about Edge, Roman Reigns, and that he comes across a little bit cocky now. Like that's the thing with all the baby faces apparently right now. Like Edge was the baby face, and now he's like a little bit bitter old guy, right? And Bryan is the cocky baby face. So I like it. It's not just like the clear-cut baby face. I like that. That was not bad. Like a nice setting up. That was good. And we had the least anticipated match in history. King Corbin versus Semisaint, and I agree with the statement. The match itself was okay for what it was. It's still a King Corbin match. Semisaint with his conspiracy theory mindset is still fun, I think, right now. Of course, Corbin somehow found a way to roll up or to steal the victory, basically. And Zayn was, of course, mad. Owens tried to talk sense into Zayn somewhat, but that drove Zayn really over the edge. And it all broke down in the end. Hardcore Helluva kick to Owens that left him lying there. So if this is this whole stupid King Corbin versus Semisaint stuff that we've seen over the last few weeks, if this now leads to Semisaint versus Kevin Owens at the grandest stage of them all, I forgive you, WWE. I'm all for it. I want to see KO Semisaint WrestleMania. It should be the main event, obviously. It's not going to be the main event. I don't care where it's going to be on the card. As long as it's on the card, I'll be watching. Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens, WrestleMania, yes. Well, then we had one of those serious interviews between Michael Cole, Big E, and Apollo Crews. At some point of time, Michael Cole, it's time. It was not a bad interview, but it's just we had enough of Michael Cole. But by now, I just think. Anyways, the interview showed like that it was intense and so on. So that was fair enough. That was good. Did its job. Then had Natalya and Tamina attacking Shayna Baszler and Bianca Belair, because right now that's just what we do. And sorry. Edge versus Jey Uso. Winner becomes the extra enforcer on Fastlane. Of course, Edge would win, becoming the special enforcer for Fastlane for the main event between Bray and the head of the table, Roman Reigns. But of course, we also know that just because Uso lost, he will not just step away. Of course, he's gonna interfere at some point, right? It was a good match, though. Okay, so now let's move to Fastlane, right? So then we had we had Riddle versus Mustafa Ali for the US title. They have chemistry, which is cool. It was a nice warm-up match, nice back and forth as always. Eventually Riddle again standing tall. Bro, that's still weird, like how they build him, though, right? Mustafa Ali then being mad at, of course, Retribution, even though Retribution didn't do anything wrong that time around. So that is interesting, maybe where this will go from here. But the billing of Riddle as like this super stoned, stupid guy is just a bit weird as well. It could be so much better, I think. We then had Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax versus Sasha Banks and Bianca Belair for the tag titles. This could have been awesome, but it was not bad. But then, of course, it happened just the way we thought it would happen, that Belair and Banks have miscommunication, of course, and then they go at each other. That was to be expected. So, of course, Baszler and Jax retain. We then had Big E versus Apollo Crews, which was fun. I think like hard-hitting fun. That was cool. Big E retaining, then Apollo Crews beating him down afterwards, also to be expected. But I'm looking forward to where we go from here. Then we had Braun Strowman versus Elias, because actually he should face like Shane McMahon. And we all wanted to see Shane O'Mac in the ring, of course. When Shane O'Mac unfortunately suffered an injury during warm-up. So then he just decided Elias is going to be his replacement. Of course, Braun Strowman destroyed Elias. Remember, WWE stands for Walk with Elias. Those were the times, man. Elias was on the way to getting organically over, and now this Zack Ryder treatment calling. Yo, bro. And we then had Shinsuke Nakamura with Seth Rollins in a nice little match. Of course, Shinsuke Nakamura, always great. It's a shame how they, bury him. Of course, Seth Rollins would stand tall in the end after a curb stomp, but the match was cool, of course. Give Shinsuke more to do. We then had Drew McIntyre versus Sheamus, and of course Drew had to win here. Nice back and forth, bro kicking and claymoring, or going for both, of course. That was just a brutal back and forth, like what you would expect from like two big fellas. Fella. All good. I'm not a big fan of those matches, but it did what it had to do. So, yeah, good on them. Then speaking of not a fan, we then had losing like track here of my thoughts, cause it's confusing, right? Alexa Bliss versus Randy Orton, and of course we knew the Fiend would be there somehow, and then the Burn Fiend comes from under the ring, grabs it's like a Kane Reloaded kind of thing. Either you love it or you hate it. And while I do like those cinematic matches once in a while, I'm not a big fan of like this fake spooky stuff, because it's not really spooky, and it's just not a big fan. And they all could do better. I like Randy Orton. I'm one of the few people who actually says out loud that I like Randy Orton. I like the RKO. I like those things out of nowhere. I like it. I like Alexa Bliss. Remember Bliss the Twist and all those things? She's actually good in the ring. Decent. Bray Wyatt's also in there. They could do so much better, but let's see where this goes from here, right? We then had Roman Reigns versus Bryan for the Universal title, which was a great match, back and forth. I mean, Bryan is in the match, so of course it's going to be great. Even though Roman, of course, overpowers him, right? He still taunted him in between, like, I'm gonna submit you, and things like this, which was pretty cool. Well, of course, they went berserk at each other. Of course, Jey Uso came in, but then, of course, things break down, and you could expect that eventually something's going to happen with Edge. Things break down. Edge gets somewhat hit. Edge gets mad. Eventually, he takes out Uso. No, Bryan takes out Uso. I'm confused. And then Edge takes out Reigns, takes out Bryan with a chair. After Bryan before already submitted Reigns, but Edge didn't count it. And then Edge hit both of them, left them there. New referee comes out. Roman Reigns crawls to the cover and retains and wins. That's gonna be a triple threat, right, for WrestleMania. But it was great. Everything is awesome. I want Edge to win the world title one more time. It's becoming less and less likely with the involvement of Daniel Bryan. But the match itself right now, let's just enjoy it. That was fun. Okay, cool. Then we had Raw following this whole thing, of course. Yeah, awesome. So you know how I feel about Raw by now, and I'm sure you feel about Raw in a similar way. This week wasn't as bad though. We started with Bobby Lashley versus Sheamus because all the big men are now fighting each other all the time, of course. And of course, Bobby Lashley had to win this thing here. And the Hurt Business, of course, attacked Sheamus after the match. And then Drew McIntyre came in to make the safe. Decent start. What was also kind of decent was actually Asuka versus Peyton Royce. Peyton Royce still in there. She had like this campaign like, hey, I haven't done anything in forever. I want to prove that I belong and so on. And she was hanging in there for a bit. That was pretty cool. So heads up to Peyton Royce. That was nice. But of course, the highlight here was then the debut, so to speak, of Rhea Ripley on the main roster, and she jumped into the ring, stared on Asuka, and like was really polite, like, "Hey, Asuka, honey," like she's smiling at her. She's like, "Now that Charlotte's out, how about you and I WrestleMania?" And then of course they just point at the sign, and Asuka is like, "You're not ready for Asuka, but I accept." Oh, cool. By the way, I'm not a big fan of this silly, angry, crazy Asuka. I mean, angry would be cool, or just silly, but I would love her to just be the Empress of Tomorrow and not be like this. Maybe it's a cultural thing. Maybe it's super cool in Japan. I'm not sure. As for Rhea Ripley, let's see. I mean, she's the whole package, and if they don't pull the trigger now that Charlotte's apparently out with COVID or with Andrade issues, when will they do it, right? So let's see what they got here. I'm assuming they pull the trigger on Ripley and make her the next big thing because she looks awesome, she moves awesome, she's got everything. So yeah, she's gonna be the next big thing. We then had The Miz versus Jeff Hardy, which was meh, because of course the Bad Bunny had to get involved again. This is really getting annoying, and we're getting The Miz versus Bad Bunny at WrestleMania, and it's just like, what? I mean, of course The Miz is awesome and he can get over everybody, but why are you doing this to him? Oh my god. AJ Styles, Kofi Kingston, nice match. Yes, that was a good match, back and forth. Kofi Kingston showing lots of stuff in there, being quite dominant. They got almost out of the game. Then of Woods keeps him occupied at the end out there, which was fine. So that was just a nice match with Kofi Kingston picking up the win. That was cool. I like that. More of this, please. Eventually, we saw then Drew McIntyre versus Cedric Alexander and Shelton Benjamin. If he wins, the Hurt Business needs to stay away from the ring when he faces their champion. And of course, he would claymore both of them in the end and win, because Drew McIntyre, you can see me, Drew Cena McIntyre in the house. We then had Mandy Rose and Dana Brooke versus Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler, because why not, and skipping this because it was terrible. We then had Elias and Braun Strowman, of course, again, and that was fantastic as well. Sorry. Then Randy Orton summons Bray Wyatt. and Orton was prepared with like lighter fluid, gasoline, lighter fluid, but Bray Wyatt didn't even move. And then before he could light the match, Orton had the match, had like lighter fluid, gasoline on the Fiend the match, but he doesn't light the match. He goes for an RKO. And then in the end, then the Fiend with the mandible claw, of course. Fantastic. Just too predictable. So what they're going to do with this now. Raw wasn't that great, but it wasn't as bad as before. I would still like if they would stick more to like the separated brands, but okay. We haven't had this in forever. It's been better than the week before. So, hey, no strike this week. So congratulations, Raw. You're still on my radar for now. What's always on the radar, especially since last week's lights out match, of course, AEW Dynamite. That was cool. That was fun. What did we have here? We had in the beginning Matt Sydal versus Kenny Omega. That was a cool match. I mean, obviously we know that Kenny Omega wouldn't lose the title, but Matt Sydal showed out here. It was really good. Back and forth, Sydal had Omega reeling. Omega in the end then with the V-trigger and the one-winged angel, but he had to really work hard for that. That was a nice start, in my opinion. I enjoyed this match a lot. That was really cool. It's nice to see Sydal just showing what he's about again. I liked that. It was cool. We had Hangman Adam Page versus Cesar Bononi, and of course we knew how this would go. So there was nothing much to this match besides, well, Page obviously defeating Bononi, and well, then we had another promo by the Murderhawk Monster, Lance Archer. Again on Sting, of course. But yeah, Adam Page doing what we expect him to do. We then had an interview with Dr. Britt Baker, DMD. And of course, I mean, what she and Thunder Rosa, what her and Thunder Rosa did like last week was amazing. But she knows it. And I mean, in her role as the heel here, she was just like heating it up. So she's still getting better every week. I mean, she's always been awesome. She's been like the centerpiece of the women's division, and she deserves this. And she's just getting better and better. And it's just, yeah, she's just tearing it down right now. It's perfect. Also, if you haven't checked her out on Renee Paquette's podcast vlog on YouTube, it's just cool to listen to her, like how she thinks about the business and so on. Her thoughts about her last match, with Thunder Rosa and so on. It's really fun to listen to her. She really likes what she's doing. She loves it. She's all about that life, which is just shines through. So I'm really happy that she's able to show this right now. Baby. We then had the Hollywood Blondes and Dante Martin versus the Pinnacle, because the Pinnacle had to face someone in the beginning. And of course, I mean, we knew what's going to happen here. Of course, the Pinnacle would defeat the Hollywood Blondes and then would beat them down afterwards, obviously. Not much to say there, because, I mean, of course, the Pinnacle had to take this. Then we had the Young Bucks and Brandon Cutler versus the Lucha Bros and Laredo Kid. Out of nowhere. There was, again, a nice back and forth here. I enjoyed this, again, maybe more than others, but I enjoyed this quite a lot. Of course, we had a bit of a super kick party there in between, and eventually the Lucha Bros and Laredo Kid would defeat the Young Bucks and Brandon Cutler, but still to keep everybody looking strong in there with how they actually did it at the end, which was nice. Because of course it all broke down, like everybody was involved, right? It was too expected kind of with those kind of matches, but it was fun to watch, and it kept everyone strong, safe, so to speak. So not mad at it. So sometimes if you have those crazy matches where everything breaks down, right, you're like, what is this? In this case, it works. Then we had Ty Conti versus Nyla Rose, because she can't just give up on. So then we had Ty Conti versus Nyla Rose, because of course she can't just give up on trying to defeat Nyla Rose. Until now, she has always been unsuccessful in doing so. But this time, yes, things have been different. And Ty Conti eventually was able to get Rose out of there, which is nice. But then afterwards, things break down again, of course. Nyla was attacking Conti. Everybody's getting involved again, of course. The Butcher and the Blade, because they say Bunny has been overlooked, and then there's Matt Hardy and the Hardy family saying this stops right here, right now. So in the end, they're standing tall. Let's see where we go from here. The match itself wasn't that great, but it had this higher purpose in this case, so it's all good, I think. Eventually, we then saw the TNT Championship match between Darby Allin and John Silver. A little bit random. And I didn't know that John Silver is that small, that short, not small, short. He's really bulky, but quite short. That match was good. Just two really good guys in the ring, going back and forth, countering each other. A few sloppy things in between. I was surprised that AEW had like some highlights from the match and would like choose the sloppy highlights. It's a bit weird. But overall, obviously a really good match. If you're fast pace and so on, and you have a few mistakes in there, no problem. In the end, Allin defeated Silver, but then show of respect. But after the show of respect, the Hardy family came out again, like throwing it down. Then, of course, the Dark Order in there trying to protect John Silver. Everyone against everybody. Big chaos in the end. So then Conti even came out again. Chaos to close the show. Great match, lots of fun. Again, AEW, the clear winner this week. Fastlane, though, wasn't bad. I did enjoy quite a lot of it. I liked where we are heading now towards WrestleMania when we look into Reigns, Edge, probably Bryan somewhat in there. We're going to have, hopefully, Kevin Owens versus Semisaint. Yes, that's going to be awesome. So I'm really looking forward to WrestleMania by now. Let's see how this shapes up. I am not looking forward to Bad Bunny and Miz. I still hope that the Bad Bunny has like his performance and then Miz just wrecks him on stage. So we won't see that match. Wishful thinking. Let me know what you thought, what you think, what you want to see. And until then, stay safe. See you next time. Take care.